color correct node in Nuke. How does that work? We're going to add one to see how it works. So color correct. Now this is one of the most used nodes, and in this case I am going to close one of these. Actually, I'm just going to close all of these except the waveform, because you get the point, right? You get how this stuff works. I'm going to close pane and close pane so that we can reveal a bit more of the goodness that this node has to offer. What is the difference between color correct and grade? One main thing. You're given the chance to act on your shadows, midtones, and highlights separately. This is the main bit. Otherwise, you have your gamma, your gain, your offset, your gamma, your contrast, your saturation. You have 5 things to work on. Either master, which basically means the footage, like everything, or you want to focus on the shadows, midtones, and highlights. What are shadows? What are midtones? And what are highlights? Well, sorry, I did not mean to define them in English for you because they are quite obvious. It's the definition, it's the mathematical definition that Nuke understands. Nuke is asking you this question. What is shadow? What are shadows? What are midtones and what are highlights? This is part of the node. This question is part of the node, and you may need not to answer it. Then Nuke answers on your behalf, but you are given the chance to give an answer, and you do that in the tab ranges. This is where you yourself can define the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights separately. If you come over here with your cursor and you put it somewhere, it is going to tell you in those in the graph there where you are, whether you're in shadows, whether you are. Let me just come over here. This is mostly shadow. This is mostly shadow. Highlights. Let's come over here. This is a highlight. Yeah, we got into highlights. Okay, so these are shadows, these are midtones, and these are highlights. You can define them, and this is what I mean by define. So telling Nuke what is a shadow, what is a midtone, what is a highlight is something you can do. Let me just come over here and then press on the space bar. The moment you press on the space bar, you get the whole thing extended, and I can explain these better. This is a transition between your midtones and midtones are the blue, midtones and your highlights. Right? So what you can do is define here using, okay, don't recommend going any lower than 0 because our range is from 0 to 1. We don't accept sober blacks and we do not accept super whites. So in this case, it's why am I showing you this part? It's because you are given the choice. That's all. You can, at any moment in time, come over here and say, revert the changes made since this control panel was opened. And it goes back to the initial definition as it came shipped with Nuke. All right. So this is a choice you have. Now we go back to our shadows, midtones, and highlights, and you are given then the possibility to act on each one of them separately. Let's try to do that. Let me go press on the space bar to bring in again our normal interface, and let's start tweaking some of this, right? Shall we get another frame? Let's get another frame. Yeah, let me get 2227, quite interesting, or 2227. Got a bullet getting out. This is not a muzzle flare. This is not something that was added. This is real stuff. So this is a real weapon with real stuff getting out. Right, so let's now work with this. The saturation, okay, I don't need to explain this because this is like you're acting on your footage, right? So you're acting on the whole thing. You're not acting on highlights separately. Saturation is saturation. You saturate your footage. Contrast is quite obviously the contrast basically means you are making your blacks See, you are reducing the distance between black and white. Sorry, you are increasing the difference between the blacks and whites. Your gamma is exactly what was explained in the grade node. The gain is the same, offset is exactly the same. You got the same things. The difference, as we said, is shadows, midtones, and highlights. So do yourself a favor, close that master, because chances are you're not going to be working with it too much unless you don't use the grade node, and then you say, okay, I'm going to do everything in here. Nice. Shadows. You can say, for example, okay, in our case, because I have not actually, this is ungraded footage, red raw ungraded footage. It hasn't even been tweaked using the raw material, the raw parameters, the red raw parameters that we have in here. This stuff, I haven't even tweaked it, I haven't changed anything, but it's just to show you what we have. So saturation, I can target the midtones and desaturate. Oh, because the bullet is, I think, from the highlights. Well, I can find that out. So I can go to ranges and I can go to my bullet stuff. Yeah, it is somewhere in the midtones, actually. This is midtones. All right, don't have too many highlights in here. Oh, yeah, because most of the because this is not. I didn't use the red thing, because if I move to the native ISO, this is ISO 250. If I move to the native ISO, it's going to be brighter. Yes, now brighter. Let's keep it at that for now to work, and then I'll change it back again. By the way, if I do this, it changes the hard disk. Let me go back and see how does that impact our fellow thing. Ah, now the bullet is a highlight because I've just moved the ISO to 800. Okay, the bullet is a highlight. I'm not going to be able to target the bullet, right? So this is like, this is highlight, the sky is highlight. You've got a lot of highlights. This is more shadows. Yeah, and some midtones in here. This guy must be a midtone. This is going to be a bit closer to highlight. All right, you get the point. So now color correct in terms of, say, I would like to desaturate my highlights. And say I'm going to increase the contrast. Have you noticed what happens now to the bullet? Well, this is not realistic, but I'm telling you how you can target areas using their affiliation, I would say. Is it affiliated to highlights or to shadows or to midtones? Let me set this back and then increase or reduce the gain for the highlights. So this is how you target your. You can work on separate. You can work on them separately. Okay.